variety of options to accommodate any of your designs and application needs. This will include a variety of both fixed and configurable solutions that can accommodate a single room or an entire campus. Ask anyone who designs systems and they will tell you that the most important component to consider is the matrix switch. It is at the center of all distribution designs and applications in use today. From small conference rooms to large-scale centralized distribution systems and everything in between, the matrix switch provides the core functionality required for these systems to work seamlessly. Digital Media offers a number of different matrix switcher sizes to fit your design needs and are engineered to make an end-to-end solution feature-rich and simple. Digital Media also provides unique features like USB and audio breakaway switching and Ethernet distribution, and are compatible with both Crestron 2 Series and 3 Series control processors. So what is a matrix switcher? A simplified answer is that the matrix switcher provides the user with the ability to route signals from an input to a number of outputs in a customizable configuration. For example, if you have a video source that you wish to view on a number of different displays simultaneously, or you have a number of different audio-video sources that you need to be able to show on different displays, the solution needed to achieve this application is the matrix switcher. Matrix switchers are normally expressed as a numeric relationship of unique inputs to unique outputs, such as 8x8 or 16x16. This means that an 8x8 matrix switch would have 8 independent inputs and 8 independent outputs. There are two basic types of matrix switchers: fixed matrix switchers and custom matrix switchers. Fixed matrix switchers are pre-configured with a set number of inputs and outputs that have a connection type such as HDMI, DVI, or analog inputs, and HDMI or digital media outputs. The custom matrix switchers by far are the most flexible and powerful. This style of switcher allows you to configure and customize both the input and output types to fit your design requirements, and can be changed as the system changes without replacing the main hardware. First, let's look at Crestron's fixed matrix switcher options. The DM-MD6x1 is a versatile 6-input by 1 output switcher incorporating both analog and digital input options. It can be used as the main switcher in a system or as a digital conversion switcher to an existing analog system that you want to upgrade to digital. Video input 1 is an analog input for either composite, S-video, or component video connection through the use of a BNC style connector. Video input 2 is an analog input for a PC connection through DB15 connections, but also is capable of accepting composite, S-video, or component video signals with the use of a breakout cable. Video input 3 is a digital video input through an HDMI interface that can accept HDMI, DVI-D, and DisplayPort multimode signal types. Audio input 1 and 2 are detachable terminal blocks for balanced, unbalanced stereo line level. Audio input 3 is an S-PDIF coax digital audio input. And inputs 4, 5, and 6 are DM inputs for connecting digital media copper transmitters from a remote location. The output configuration consists of a DM output for connection to a digital media copper receiver and also features an HDMI output for connection to a local display. The DM-MD6x1 is also equipped with a detachable terminal block for balanced, unbalanced stereo line level output, a USB for connecting to a PC for keyboard and mouse, and a LAN connection for network connection to a control system. The DM-MD6x6 is a 6-input by 6-output switcher featuring an all-digital input format. Inputs 1 through 6 are digital video inputs through an HDMI interface and accept HDMI, DVI-D, and DisplayPort multimode signals. Output 1 is through an HDMI interface for connecting to a display or AVR. Outputs 2 through 6 use DM8G copper for connection to a digital media 8G receiver. And the DM-MD6x6 is also equipped with USB for connecting to a PC for keyboard, mouse, and LAN connection for network connectivity to a control system. The DM-MD6x4 is a 6-input by 4-output switcher featuring an all-digital input format. Inputs 1 through 6 are digital video inputs through an HDMI interface and accept HDMI, DVI-D, and DisplayPort multimode signals. Output 1 is through an HDMI interface for connecting to a display or AVR. Outputs 2 through 4 use DM8G copper for connection to digital media 8G receivers. The DM-MD6x4 is also equipped with USB for connecting to a PC for keyboard and mouse control, and a LAN connection for network connectivity to a control system. Now let's take a look at the configurable digital media matrix switcher options. A configurable matrix gives you the ability to configure the switcher to fit your application. Digital media does this by providing a number of switcher chassis that allow you to specify each input for the type of source connection that you are connecting to, as well as the ability to select the output type based on the infrastructure you wish to use. Configurable matrix switchers come in a number of input-output sizes, so you can choose the right chassis to meet the needs of your project. With a configurable matrix switcher, you can design your system for future growth or change your connection needs as your source devices change. You are no longer required to make major hardware changes as the user wants to add a new source or change out an existing one. Here we see the foundation of Crestron's digital media configurable matrix switchers. The matrix sizes are 8x8, 16x16, and 32x32. Crestron offers all three of these chassis with configuration options. There is the standard version as shown here and a version that has an RPS suffix, which means that the chassis is equipped with a built-in redundant power supply. For example, the DM-MD8x8 would be the standard chassis, and the DM-MD8x8 RPS would be equipped with the redundant power supply. Crestron offers larger digital media matrix switchers that we will cover shortly, but now let's focus on these three. First, it is important to note that the matrix size numbers you see here are given so that you know the maximum number of inputs and outputs you can configure within each switcher chassis. However, you can configure these switchers to be less. An 8x8, for example, could be configured to be a 1x2, but no more than 8 inputs and 8 outputs in the chassis itself. Now let's take a closer look at the anatomy of these three switcher chassis. To do this, we'll look at the back of a DM-MD 8x8, but keep in mind that this format is the same for the 8x8, 16x16, and 32x32. The digital media switcher's chassis provides two locations for the installations of input cards. One is located on the left side of the chassis, and the other is on the right side of the chassis. Each input card plugs into an available slot on the chassis, so you are free to select the input type to match the source devices that you are using. You can review the input cards and their features in another design series section. Here we are covering their locations on the chassis. The digital media switcher's chassis provides two locations for the installation of output cards, one on the middle top of the chassis and one on the middle bottom of the chassis. Each output card plugs into an available slot of the chassis, so you can select the output type to match the infrastructure that you are using. And located at the very center of the chassis are the DMNet ports. Digital media switchers include built-in power distribution for digital media transmitters, repeaters, and room controllers, and it is through these ports that the connections are made to these devices. Please note, however, that the DMNet power port is meant for digital media copper repeaters and receivers only, and you should refer to the DMNet power calculator on the Crestron website to make sure you have adequate power for your configuration. Also note that digital media switchers with the redundant power supply option do not provide any power to these DMNet ports, and you will be required to provide external power if you are using digital media copper receivers. For these and other power requirements needed, we have provided an EIG connection port for each DMNet port. Each EIG port connects to an external power supply or to the internal power source via a jumper to power the DM device connected to the corresponding DMNet port. Located on the lower right of the digital media chassis is the power connection for the chassis itself, and on the lower left you will find a LAN connection for connecting to a control system. Each digital media chassis has additional features beyond that of traditional AV matrix switchers. In addition to routing audio and video signals from inputs to outputs, digital media switchers also have a built-in Ethernet switch. This feature allows your design to include Ethernet connectivity to the same building network that the digital media switch is connected to. This is made possible when using a transmitter or receiver that is equipped with a LAN port. Some input cards, transmitters, and receivers are also equipped with USB connections so that you can use the digital media system as a KVM, or keyboard video mouse switch. This eliminates the need to purchase additional hardware to gain this feature in your design. With digital media, the KVM feature is already built in. If your design requires a larger format distribution switch, Crestron offers a 64 by 64 matrix switcher. There are a few features in the DM-MD64 by 64 that differ from the previous switchers that we discussed in this section. The 64 by 64 features a scalable blade-based design offering a higher density input and output configuration without sacrificing rack space. In fact, the 64 by 64 only requires 14 rack units of space, the same space as the 32 by 32. There are 8 input blade slots and 8 output blade slots, and each blade slot on the 64 by 64 is field installable, allowing for easy and flexible system configuration and the ability to make changes to the system as needs arise. The 64 by 64 features hot swappable redundant power supplies and advanced system-wide monitoring to ensure continuous, dependable operation for mission-critical applications. Located on the front of the switcher is a 15-inch touchscreen for operation and setup, as well as troubleshooting tools to make setting up a complete multi-room HD system easy. Since the 64 by 64 utilizes a different architecture than the 8 by 8, 16 by 16, and 32 by 32 switchers, the input and output cards for those units are not compatible with the 64 by 64. In this section, we looked at Crestron's digital media options for matrix switching. As we discussed, this product line offers a variety of options to accommodate any of your design and application needs. This section included details on a variety of both fixed and configurable solutions.